Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today, I'm excited to be hanging out with and interviewing Sanniz, one of my friends from YouTube and longtime goth who has put out a lot of content on her channel. And thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome, Yasmin, and I'm very looking forward to this because you mean a lot to me. You are one of the
Oh,
YouTubers I really like, and no matter if you talk about just goth or metal or whatever, you talk mental health and everything. So it's excellent to actually have a person that can lift all those type of things. To see that
oh,
someone that is alternative don't just have to be in just one box. You can actually be more.
definitely. And same to you. And that's also why I like your channel as well, because you're just
Yeah.
yourself. You're real. You put everything out there from the music. And I also love that you do talk about music, because as music nerds, of course, we like to hear about that
Yeah.
and your style and like personal stuff. So I think the more we talk about what's going on with ourselves personally, the more that other people feel they're not alone. So I really appreciate that about you as well, and excited to
Yeah.
talk about your channel and everything.
And I hope that everyone gonna like what I hear or whatever, because it's not easy to show things for people, especially when they have a stereotype in their head how it should be or not be or
Or
whatever, and all this drama that goes on some types of platforms and that type of things. I don't really get those council things they're doing nowadays.
definitely, yes. And so
Mm.
I'm excited to dive into all of that. And so for you, what was your gateway into dark alternative world? When did you fall in love with dark and spooky side of life? And was that before or after
I
music?
think I actually was. I think it was before the music itself because if people already know, I'm an old person. I've born 68, so that means that I'm gonna be 56 this year. So I actually was a kid, already darkly inclined kid. I love being in the cemeteries. I love to draw cemeteries and all that type of spooky stuff, and always love witches and that type of horror and everything. So when you came to the 80s, I didn't really understand the term goth because here we didn't have the word goth yet, but the music started to come from those different things. We had the chance to listen on music, but we didn't know that it was called goth back then. So it took some years before I even heard first time the word goth and understand what it was, because I didn't really fit in the box. I was with other kids, but they were mainly more strict into something else like punk or metal and that type of things. And I was little like, okay, I can like your things, I can like your things, but you don't always like my things. But it's strange because I like this type of things very much. But then when I finally get the term goth, I realized, that's what I am, because I didn't know that word before. And we didn't have internet back then. So
Definitely. Yeah, there's so
mm,
much there. So I want to go back to, you said when you were a kid you liked hanging out in graveyards even before the music.
yeah,
How did you
yeah.
hang out in graveyards as a kid? Do you mean like when you were a little kid or when you were a
I
teenager?
was a little kid. I
Oh,
actually sneaked out, especially because my father was from north part of Sweden, so we went up there every longer break we had in school. And I was not old at all, and it was not long to the closest graveyard with the church and everything, where my granny was living. So I sneaked out there and played along. And I was also fascinated by reading and look at all the gravestones and everything to see when did people live and when did they die and how old were they, that type of things. And it always felt like a comfort for me to be there too. It was not scary at all.
that is so cute. Like I can imagine having a little kid who sneaks out to go to the graveyard and just hang out. That's
Yeah,
adorable.
the grown-ups didn't really like it, but I didn't
Oh.
mind.
That's so cute, and, I've heard people say, "You're not born goth." Well, whether that's true or not, you were certainly born darkly inclined, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that part of many probably is the gateway into goth, when they
Yeah,
discover if they like the music too, because it's so much about it, and much of the music is often about that type of things too. So vampires and all that type of stuff. So
definitely, that
um,
absolutely makes sense, and I feel like that's a lot
yeah,
of people's experiences, darkly inclined often leads to different music genres, including goth. And
Yeah.
really quickly, I want to say hello. Hi, Virginia. Thank you for joining us today. My friend from the local goth scene, we interviewed her last week, so link for that in the description below. We also have Rouge the Goth here, another goth YouTuber who I got to hang out with as well before. And then we have Issa Life. Hey, Issa. I hope you're doing well. Well, I know that's not your name, but thank you for being here. Good to see you as always. Amazing. So then you said that there were some people who were more strictly into specific genres, but you kind of liked a little bit of everything. And I know.
Yeah,
Mhm. Oh, sorry. Go
it
ahead.
felt like that because when you grew up, you're gonna be influenced about everything around the area when you are growing up. You're a teenager, you're a kid, and everything. So you can't really say that you are stuck into just one part. And much music are going over the border, what you call it, too. So I don't really see why we should gatekeep that type of way. So we can't say you can't listen to anything else because you have still that. I can have days when I'm just into the 80s music because I was a teenager and young adult during the 80s. And then I can have days when I maybe feel angry or something. Metal music, perfect. And of course, if I need to pick a genre, it's gonna be a goth.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
and I think if I need to take just one part of goth from the big umbrella, it's probably gonna be like goth rock because that you got Sisters of Mercy and those bands that came from that part,
Definitely.
and that's
Yes.
where.
Oh,
And
sorry.
I
Go ahead.
think it's Sisters of Mercy and those type of band like the Cure, Sue and Banshees. That's the band we first discovered here in the 80s when we didn't have internet. And for people that don't understand that thing, that you needed it to put into a radio station, and it was not always the radio station in your country because Sweden is not that big like US, for an example. So we had to listen to some of the radio channels from the Europe, or like Holland and that type of things, and they have those pirate radios or whatever you should call it, and they have other type of music there. And we suddenly discovered, and then we started to get cable TV in the 80s, and then you got MTV and that type of things when it still was a music channel. It's not that much music channel today. It's more drama and that type of thing. So then you
I,
discover a little more.
I don't even know if they have music at all on MTV anymore.
I think they have if you go to some of the special when they do this MTV 80s and that type of stuff. But then it's just mainly those years.
Right? Oh, wow. So is that how I know you mentioned Bauhaus and the System of Mercy and The Cure. Is that how you discovered them? Was it through MTV and the radio?
Yeah, it was more like during the radio first because we didn't have internet. Then when we started to get internet, you can go up the old-fashioned way that took forever to even get out on the internet. And it was often on a telephone line too. So if someone tried to call you, everything break up. And you, oh, for fuck's sake, I tried to download this song. So it was hysterical. But then you even discover Vampire Freaks when it still was a community. And you can really connect even with bands because band members were very nice during those years too when it was so early. So you can actually get the closer contact with them, and if they are like from the States and everything, they could send you records directly. So you didn't have to go to the record shop that was in another town. That you have to go there first and let them do the old-fashioned way by ordinary letter mail, and then wait for weeks for them to call you up and say, "We got your album here. You can come and pick it up." And then you needed to plan a day to go over to Gothenburg because I didn't have any license to drive directly in town because I was too young.
That's what they say.
So
It really did take more effort back then,
yeah,
for
and it was
sure.
little harder to find things, but I think we actually was more nicer to each other too. So we didn't be that everybody have to listen to this part or this part, else you're not gone.
Well, I guess it also makes sense because it's interesting, kind of like as time goes on, genres become more defined too. So
Mhm.
you were experiencing it as it was still new and developing. So people maybe didn't have these like ideas of these specific boxes, which I guess could have lent to more fluidity And like I know you mentioned in previous videos that all the alternative kids would hang out together, and that was my
Yeah,
experience
that
too. Yeah,
yeah, that was because I came from a very little town or village, more likely, because now I live more in a town. But compared with your town, so it's my town is literally it's like a village for you, maybe. But it's a very small place I came from, and when we were maybe 500 students on the same school for all the grades. So all the alternative kids, no matter what type of music we listened to, we needed to hang together because we were bullied by the mainstream people because we looked like freaks in their eyes and everything. Even if we don't have a strict codes with how we should dress in school and that type of, we could come with our own codes. But we were still the freaks and had very strange, and everybody thought we were Satanists. That was a typical thing. You are a Satanist.
that's so funny too because I mean everything you're saying, even through a different kind of generation and also a different country, such similar experiences. Like all the alternative kids, we'd hang out together for the same reason. We were called freaks. We were called
Mm,
Satanists. So it's just funny that there's these themes that happen. Even like I said, in different generations and different countries.
yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. Um,
Ah, you're welcome.
yes. So what was the scene for you like in Sweden? When you were first getting into it? I know, as you already said, it was a more of a mix of alternative kids, but what would you do? Where would you hang out? What were
In the
things like?
beginning, we were in the beginning, like in the 90s, and that when I was a little younger, before I discovered a club, since before just Goth, we were hanging out other on other clubs that play little all round type of music, but still the music we liked, or we were actually hanging together outside or in someone's home. So that's the way we did it. We were stuck together no matter if it was in a place or outside. So that's the way I think people today, they're so spoiled with you need to do everything inside on a club. But you can actually listen to the music together with your friends in someone's home or outside if it's good weather and everything. So just go up to the lake and take your CD player, whatever you had, just sit there and listen to the music. That was phenomenal, and maybe do some barbecue at the same time.
Nice. Yes, absolutely. That's so interesting, because even me, I feel like I've forgotten how to hang out with people. Just like, like you said back in the day, you'd just be
Mhm.
together. It didn't really matter where. And now when you're together with people, it's like you're like worried about filling the silence when it didn't feel like that back then,
No,
I guess.
no, because we didn't have the mobile phones too. And if you're
Yes,
thinking about that, when you go out, so people are always sitting with phones all the time. So blah, 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 blah. Oh, we're gonna hang together. Yeah, wait a little. I have a message here, or I need to post something here.
that is
So,
so true.
so I think sometimes the new technique actually is a minus for us because we forget that we are actually humans that maybe need a little more contact. And when we finally meet people that have the same thoughts and same interests, so we shouldn't let the technique rule our lives. We should actually take over it.
I totally agree. That's definitely
Mm.
been a big thing that's made a difference. It's a life said, I listen to everything, but goth music is still a big part of my life. My style has gotten more boring the older I get, however.
You can
Well,
never be boring.
yeah. And our styles always do evolve.
Mhm.
No gatekeeper goths back in the day, no hate and people saying you're not goth because you don't look like this or you don't listen to this, which is why I just say I'm alternative now. Yeah, that's a safe way to go, and it does create kind of more unity. I wish we did have more dark alternative unity because, like you said, we're all the freaks
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
the
but
weird kids slash adults.
it's actually interesting during around 2000 and just after 2008. So was actually I had my own homepage back then, and I had this thing that I was talking about goth and that type of things too, and I wanted to show goths in Sweden and people during that type of years when I was 30 years aroundish. So I wanted to show people that it's not just for teenagers because many grown-ups thought, oh, it's not, that's just the phase for teenagers. You can't be that. You are 30 now. Grow up for fuck's sake. Sorry. So there were
Don't
actually
apologize.
people that. there were people I actually tried to interview for this homepage to tell the story, but they say I don't want to be labeled goth anymore because then I have to stick in this box because it started already around 2000 and just after be this box thing that you needed to be in a certain way or look a certain way and that. And I think it's wrong because you never know what the person going through. Some people don't want to look a certain way, but they love the music. They can everything about the music and maybe even have contact with the bands and everything that you don't even have. So I think it's very wrong to judge people for the cover. It's the same when other people cover us for other cover because they think we are freaks.
Absolutely, it's really
Mm.
interesting, and I guess one of the complicated things about goth is this really doesn't happen with any other genre unless someone's
Mm.
actively trying to, like, pretend, or for lack of a better word, actively trying to be a poser. Like, if they're like, I want to be perceived as a metalhead, but I don't actually like metal, but I want to be perceived as that. That's very conscious. What happens with goth is that it's been labeled like everyone who wears black, the mainstream media thinks is goth, right? So then people don't
Yeah,
do it because they're trying to pose. They just really think that if you're dark alternative, it's called goth. So that's very unique to the goth genre. That doesn't happen with any other
yeah, and
genre.
it's also I think also
Yeah.
it's sad that the most people, when they think goth, they see this very stereotypical trad goth, very extreme trad goth type of look. When goth is so big, it can be Victorian goth, it can be everything, and you can be very plain too. So back in the days when people started to listen to like Sisters of Mercy and Fields of Nephilim and those bands and the Mission and that type of thing, they were plain dressed. They had their t-shirt and the black pants and that type of thing. They were not dressed the way we didn't even have the makeup back then. We had to use your imagination how we should do something. So it was even not even close with those things. Yeah, you had some people that were very good with the things they had, or if they lived like in London or something, so they could create something. But if you go to Sweden, for example, we didn't have all that type of stuff.
Definitely. Even when I was growing up, I mean, I wasn't very good at makeup, and then my little sister, all of a sudden, she was so good at makeup. I'm like, "How'd you learn that?" She's like, "YouTube." I was like, "Oh." Because if you didn't have anyone to teach you back in the day, I mean, how are we gonna
Mm,
learn, you know?
yeah,
I'm sure some, like you said, some people did in their own way. Uh,
yeah.
s so what has your personal journey, with goth been like? And have you ever had a normal phase, as I know a lot of us have had?
The closest to normal I've been toned down. That was before 2000, but I was sneaking out to my friends and then changed clothes. So I came back the way I looked when I was out with my friends, but I sneaked out because my parents didn't like the look back then. But they knew that I still did it, and I still gonna come home in that certain way. But it was still that I was thinking a little too much because you are young, you're very much taking in what other people saying. It can hurt very much inside you if someone says something because you want to be appreciated for the person you are and not always judged for it either. So you could tone down, but I was very black dressed because I knew I had a boyfriend back then. So I think he started to get a little tired on my black clothes because when I was looking at clothes, he could come black with you can actually buy that in other colors too.
Rude.
Yeah, but I didn't like it. But that is the most normal I have been compared with that type of face. I never leave anything. I always been that. It was just that I didn't know the word goth from start in the 80s because we didn't have that word here and we didn't have that many magazine that was writing about those type of stuff, things or taking a word into because it's always like heavy metal or pop or that type of thing in the magazines for youngsters.
Did your parents ever get used to it or accept it?
My dad started actually to
Oh.
accept it very much because I knew he died for I think was it 6 years or something now. It's gonna be in April. But just before, I remember that we went over to his place and I actually had leggings that was black. They were very light in the bottom, but they had school prints all over them. So I thought he shouldn't say anything. But that was the first thing he actually pointed out. You don't have black pants. So I thought that was really funny that he actually was the first thing he actually pointed out when I came that day because I thought he should say something about the schools or something that they don't look like proper clothes.
Oh, well, I'm definitely sorry for your loss.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
of course.
Mm.
And so for you, how has the scene evolved for you over the years? I know you mentioned before there's not like really a big scene in Sweden, or at least where you are in Sweden. So how
No,
has
not anymore.
okay,
Hmm.
not anymore. Um,
I should say the biggest point was actually somewhere around 2000 up to 2006, 8, somewhere there. Then we still had a living scene. You could go out in town. I had my friends, but my friends was many times younger than me. Maybe not that much younger, but they were still younger than me because I was the oldie most of the times. So there were some of them were DJs and models and that type of things. And we also went even to Gothenburg. We had our own club sometimes here in Borås too. And they actually had sometimes even cooperation with the metalheads. So we could have like a club evening to, just because it's a small town, the ones that own the clubs need to get the money in. And to just have goth people is maybe not that much money. But if you combine them with two different ones, you may have them. But if they were successful, the goths didn't mind to dance to the metal music. The guys from the metal music didn't mind to go there because they have all the goth girls in their courses and everything. It was just the metalheads' girlfriends that maybe didn't like it that much.
nice. Yeah, that's really interesting to hear. I haven't personally seen an event like that, but I would love an event like that,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah, but we
Uh,
were very open and like the industrial music and everything. Everything was like a mix on our clubs because that's a way for us to survive too and get more people coming. So that's why I think we were not that judging in the same way like people are today. Today they want to separate everything. You can't come here because you listen to industrial, it's not goth, or you listen to that band, that is not goth. But they don't remember that in the 90s and in 2000, actually, even in other countries, those different genres were very close on the clubs.
Definitely, and that's why there's so many layers and why people get so
Mm.
confused. Like we said earlier, especially because this thing that happens with goth doesn't happen with any other genre.
No.
So there's just so many more layers with goth. And Issa Life said, "It's so funny, way back, it was all just goth. Now there's so many subcategories. I was asked by a baby bat what kind of goth I was, and I said just goth." I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very funny because I know when this Spotify Wrapped come the last time now, when it started for 2033, you're gonna know what your Spotify Wrapped was. And they put some goth label on my music, and I didn't even know what that was. What? And they say, you have listened to this genre for so much. And I was thinking, okay, the other one I recognize the name on, but what the fuck is this?
That's so funny.
So I was thinking, no, it's not getting so old. I can't even keep up with all type of labels inside goth music either because suddenly it's something that and I was thinking, well, I know I haven't listened to something else than the usual that often is like dark wave, goth rock, post punk, and that type of thing. So what the heck is this?
That's so funny. And yeah, and about the clubs, I think that's also what confuses people too, because there's the scene, right? And there's like the
Mm,
goth subculture. And like you said, a lot of times to stay alive or to survive the clubs and the nights, you do combine genres because that's really cool. There's a metal one. I've never seen that. But like you said, the most I've seen is usually industrial and goth together, EBM,
yeah.
dance music and goth together. So it's like kind of what's accepted within like the scene and the subculture versus like the genre labels. But it's just
Mm.
so many layers. Like I get why it's confusing for
Yeah,
people.
but we have nowadays we even have every year now something they call Subcult Festival. And that is a music festival that is alternative, but it's mainly on a little different. It's golf, it's punk, and it's like electronic music, it's industrial, whatever they take this year. So it's both bands from Sweden and bands from abroad. So I have seen both She Passed Away and Lebanon Hanover, for an example, and those things. So this awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. And I know from some of your photos that you shared, you used to have like the cyber locks and the falls, which is really
Yeah.
cool. because a lot of people who I guess were around before that became big kind of rejected that whole thing and were judgmental of that. But it was awesome to see you actually participated in that as well. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I could say at least in Sweden back then, people were not that in just one type of box. When you went to the clubs, uh, my friends often went for the color theme for the month. Some was completely something with green in the clothing, and if it was for like cyber goth type of version of goth with Lolita, whatever, or fetish goth, whatever this felt for. And I was the same. I took the clothes I felt for the moment, so I was not just one week I could be Victorian. Next one I did a mix with like cybergoth and that type of things, whatever. And also you actually did your things yourself too, many of the pieces. So I think
Yeah,
we were
that's fun.
more creative. We wanted to have our own style and not just stay in one thing. Yeah, you can feel confident in a certain type of way and find that you maybe, I like to be in thread goth, for an example. But there are people that want to be creative because they feel that, yeah, Tragoff can be very creative, but if I just stick in this one, then I have limit myself to express myself. So they gladly jumped on everything or mixed everything together in something that make them yourself unique in a
Yes.
certain way.
Yeah, and that's fun. It's fun to give yourself that like creative liberty to
Yeah.
dress how you feel that day. So did you all have a lot of EBM? Because I guess that was probably in the 2000s in the clubs. Was there a lot of EBM and kind of cybergoth takeover, as they
Yeah,
say? Yeah.
yeah, it was probably a lot of that too. Plus, we even have like genres like Rammstein and Marilyn Manson and Rob Zombie was hitting into the clubs too. So people didn't mind that. We had people that we actually called Mansonites because they looked like Marilyn Manson because that was the biggest idol. So they tried to look actually like him back then. So you had all type of people. They just wanted to be creative. They wanted to be themselves. But maybe it's not the creative to just look exactly like your idol. But you know what I mean? They felt free to actually be who they were. So they were not stuck that, oh, now it's just this type of style everyone gonna be. So we could actually mix everything. People didn't complain. We had fun. We could hear everything, and it could be like more synth music. We call it too. We have a certain mention for people that just like band like Depeche Mode, Kraftwerk, stuff, or whatever they were called. We call them syntare because they always only wanted to listen to synth music, electronic music. But we all keep together. And I think it's when you come from a small place, and especially like Sweden, that don't have as much as people, because if you compare with like the States and how many you are in like your cities and everything, you maybe have the whole fucking Swedish population in one place. So,
That's so true.
so a club can't survive if we don't mix it in some type of way.
Absolutely. That totally makes sense, and thank you for sharing that as well. Issa
Yeah.
Life says, "My style has unfortunately evolved into old and sick mom." Oh, well, we see. I actually disagree. I see your style, and I see even the things that you put around your house. It's always very interesting.
I think we are a little too easy to judge ourselves that we feel
Mhm.
boring because we compare ourselves with the other, especially the influencer type of
That's
things.
true. Yeah,
So we
that's
forgot
so
that we
true.
actually, because we forgot what the mainstream people think about us. Because if you go to a mainstream person, because I have tried to tone down when I'm going out to do other things when I know that maybe they not appreciate my like aesthetic or something. But you can have people come from the no. I know there's something going on with you because you are not looking normal. And I think, but I thought I looked normal.
You're like, this is normal for me.
Yeah.
That's so funny. But yeah, that's true. Like, I guess that is maybe they say, and we were talking about how social media and phones have impacted us, and obviously like every area of our lives. But I even find myself thinking my house is so plain. Like I don't have enough stuff up. I don't, because I don't have like a Pinterest worthy aesthetic house. Like my house is boring. I don't have,
Yeah,
because
and
I'm renting
I
too.
feel I feel sometimes because I'm a Swede, so compared with many Americans, no matter if they are poor or rich or whatever, for me, you are living in huge spaces. You should be shocked to see how many Swedish actually lives in this compact type of living, and I have seen sometimes when they show them from YouTube when they go around and they're gonna rent out some flat or something that they call small. And I was thinking that is not a small flat; it's a big flat.
It's all perspective too, right? It's all like perspective and experience.
Yeah.
But definitely. Um, so I see, actually, before we go into talking about YouTube, so who were some of your favorite bands when you first got into the scene? And you already kind of mentioned some. And who are some of your favorites now?
Oh, I always forget the names on them, but I know Goth is one of the newest I have found, and he usually I think he just released a new song today. So I think people should go and check him out because he's from Canada, if I remember right. And it's really great to hear new music too. But I do like lots of different stuff, and I'm so bad on the name dropping. But when it comes to all the stuff, if I'm not gonna name my obviously first band number one that most people probably already know if they follow me. So it's like London After Midnight is one of the first band that Incubus Succubus is actually a band I saw in Gothenburg, and it was actually very nice to talk with the singer herself. She was a really cool person. And of course, Lebanon Hanover. Then you got band like Blue Tangle that not everybody agrees is a goth band because it's a little more dark wave-ish, I think, that maybe going over a little other type of direction. But many back then thought it belonged to goth too because we were listening to that type of music too. And see, now it's blank in my head. That's typical of me when I'm gonna name drop things.
No, no worries.
Uh,
I mean, that was already a nice little list for people to check out if they haven't
Yeah,
already.
Raised in Black is the other old band that is actually from Hawaii. So I could say that go to the remix of Oh My Gosh, that song.
Yeah. Nice. And I'll find I'm not familiar with Gothnetic. That's not a band I've listened to, so I'll make sure I find the song that they released today and link it in the description
Yeah,
for anyone
and
who wants
another
to hear.
great band is Paralyzed Age. I love them.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing some of your favorites. And
Yeah,
I know that's just the tip of the iceberg because I see all your videos, especially the shorts. You're always sharing so many different bands, which I
yeah,
love.
and I
Yeah.
discover new ones all the time, but I forgot the names. And
Yeah,
when you have a
exactly.
Spotify and when you have it on repeat, just go in the list, you don't remember the band's name, but you
Yeah,
oh that song.
exactly.
And I think
Exactly.
if people really want to discover music, they should follow the channel Obscura and Dead,
Yes, that's a
or
great
or, e-
shout out.
or even like Cemetery Confessions that talk a lot about the Gothic subculture, everything that have to even have a guest that they talk about how they were growing up during the 80s and 90s and that type of things too, or they present new and old bands or whatever. So I think that's also a good way to get more about goth.
Definitely great shout outs, and I'll link those in the description below as well after we finish our interview.
Hmm?
So I see. Let's talk about YouTube. The first video you uploaded to YouTube was back in 2011, and it was a video of two of your dogs playing. One looks like a Karen Terrier, which I love those.
Yeah, but
So
this is a much bigger dog.
yeah, a, a big dog that looks like a Karen Terrier.
That is
uh,
actually a French breed that
oh,
was like a sheepdog protecting the sheep from wolves. So it's named Belgian Picard.
aw, it's so
I can't
cute.
pronounce it in France, but it's a Picard dog. So
Aw, I love it. It's so cute. Aw. So what was going on in your life back then in 2011?
oh, it was actually starting of my dark era when it comes to my mental person life, and when I almost lost all my friends that was alternative too. I came away from the alternative scene because I was living with a narcissist and married with him too for a while. And I still live in the shadow of what he's doing because of other circumstances. But we're not going to go into that here because I don't want to make people depressed. But but I can tell people that never be ashamed if you be a victim for a narcissist, because it's not for your fault, because you don't know what the person is, because they are so very nice in the beginning, but when they have caught you in the web, you are there. And no matter how strong you are from start, you're gonna be the weakest person ever.
Thank you for saying that, and it's
Mm.
so true. It's not your fault. Anyone who's experienced that, because like you
Mm.
said, they break you down slowly. It's a slow
Yeah,
breakdown. So it's not about if you're a strong person or anything like that. It's really you've been a victim of something really horrible. So
yeah, and it was
yeah.
actually a phase of my life, and I almost lost my contact with the alternative scene too, because he even tried to use that against me. So, and he was in some type of biker environment too, and they were saying that the people that was dressed my way was the strippers. So it was not that fun that see that people was actually just seeing that in like a sexual way, because for me it's not a sexual way, way to express myself. No matter if I have a short skirt or corset on me, I'm not a stripper, but I love that clothing.
I'm really sorry you went through that, and thank you for being open and sharing. I know definitely there's people who can relate to that, and that's kind of another layer you don't hear much about in terms of goth being fetishized, how it can
Mm.
impact people who are in abusive relationships or situations like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for being open about that. We definitely don't have to talk about that further if you don't want to, but I do appreciate you
Mm.
mentioning that and sharing that because I know that's very personal and can be difficult to revisit as well. Um,
Yeah.
so that was in 2011, and when did you finally get away? What year was it when you?
I think
Uh,
it was around 2015. I
okay.
finally got away in time. And I think that was just in time, because if I hadn't gone that day I went, I should probably not sitting here, because I was so mental down. So I was so close to actually finish my life. So
Well, I am glad you were able to get away and so glad that you're here. And yeah, I'm really sorry again that you went through that. And not diving more into the darker parts.
mm,
And if you don't want to talk about anything, obviously we can move on to the next question. But
yeah,
and I know you said you're still dealing with, how that's affected you mentally, but has anything kind of helped you to improve your um I guess mental state or help you heal, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
I think in some cases it's have grown my mental in certain way that I know that I'm worth much better than that. I shouldn't be mistreated of someone just for the person I am. They shouldn't take advantage for the person I am. No matter what type of gender or sex you have, you should just be able to be yourself. And I think that's showed up little later, because during some years we had a project called Sophie Lancaster calendar, the calendar project, and it was held by a person, Renee from Australia, and she picked up the 12 ambassadors for every calendar. And everyone had to do something with the alternative. The last ones even have like the whole BQT type of things, the queer type of things inside too, because it's very important, because many inside alternative people are open persons. Many are even into the queer things too. And that makes us even more uh, and vulnerable for other people. So we need to stick together. So the project was a cooperation, and all the money went to the Sophia Lancaster Foundation in UK. And if Goths have heard about what was going on, why this project started from the beginning, from the mother Sylvia, that was mom to Sophie, that was killed for actually being alternative. Her boyfriend was also in a very bad shape, but he survived this attack. And I think, and the most scary part, it was youngsters that actually did this, and that was only because they were looking alternative. And then I was in contact with another YouTuber, but he's dead now. Little sorry for that. They killed the Goth. Maybe some people have heard about from UK. And his name was Trevor too, so it was not hard for me to remember the name in that case. So he actually started to say, "Shouldn't you be in the project?" I said, "No, I don't think I'm good enough or big enough for being a goth type of thing, because I'm just a small Swedish person." But then finally, the second last year, Renee contacted me and asked me if I wanted to be in the calendar. So I was actually in August.
I
So that
love
was
hearing
really
that.
cool. But the saddest thing when it comes to those things that people don't think about that we can have parallels. We had even parallels to Sweden, and you know that I mentioned Subkult Festival and that we have here every year. And one of the biggest person behind it is called Mirre. And Mirre was a friend with some people in Gothenburg, and I usually hang in Gothenburg too, in the same areas too, because many of my friends lived there too. But they were a mix like goth people with emo persons and that type of things, a little mixed, but not mainstream people. And one of her friends, you can call him Pelle because that's what we were called. He was actually also murdered for being an alternative, and she actually wrote a book about it, but it's just in Swedish too. Still, I think she is working on an English version too, but I think other things comes first because she have all those big other things going on with Subkultur Festival and that type of things. So,
Wow,
but
that's really sad.
yeah, and like I was thinking back then too that everybody freaked out because we were hanging in the same area, so it could be us too because we also look like freaks and everything, and just because we looked in a certain way. People don't understand. They don't understand when I went into the shop, for example, just doing ordinary shopping, and I had hair extension when I had my synthetic dreads in my hair and everything. You can have people coming and pull my hair to see if I was stuck in my. Uh, uh, and I was thinking, you don't do it on others.
Yeah, that's like in any scenario, it's like I don't understand how people just violate personal boundaries and space and just be so disrespectful like that.
Yeah, and
And
that's why I think it's so sad today when we have all those goths that try to gatekeep in the wrong type of way. It's one thing to learn people about the music and that it should be the music that is the base for it. And then you can express yourself no matter how you do it. If you want to dress and do the makeup and everything, great for you. But at least have the music like the base. And I think that should be better to focus on to keep us together like we was before, to protect ourselves to the other people because you never know what's going on nowadays, especially when the world is changing so much like it does right now. So we need our all help and all the support. We are not that many.
I agree. I love that. That's beautiful. We should have some kind of dark alternative club where we like support and protect each other for sure. But yeah, that's really sad and it's true like now that it's kind of getting popular in the mainstream again, it also comes with more danger again and more people bothering you again and the
Mm,
satanic panic and all these cycles that we've seen so many times it like all comes back. The good and the bad too
mm.
seem to amplify at these times. But I'm glad you were able to participate in the calendar and that you. It sounds like there was kind of a little bit of a breakthrough in terms of you feeling, worthy enough to, and of course you always were, but just like in that internal, in that
Yeah,
internal
it felt like
space.
someone discovered a little me that lives in Sweden when you have so much more bigger ones. I know that Angela Benedict and all that type of people have been in that one already before. And Madame Absinthe, for example, is one others that we in the calendar. And I forgot all others, but there are plenty of YouTubers that actually been in those 5 years. And the last Swedish, because we actually only been two Swedish ambassadors in the calendar project, was actually Lovelace. If you know Lovelace Cosmetics and that type of things. So she have
Okay.
a channel too. Victoria
Okay.
Lovelace.
Yes, that name does sound very familiar.
Yeah.
um, yes, but yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I'm glad to see that, um, hopefully things continue to get better for you as well, just like
Mm.
internally. Um, so it looks like the very first time we see your face because you were uploading kind of like random videos at first, and that's very normal for YouTube. Like that's what
Mm.
YouTube was when it started was just a lot of random videos. So the first time
It was an easy way to share with other friends that you maybe didn't met in a day, so you could show something, and it was easy way to show them because we couldn't directly file them away because the computer was not that good and the internet definitely not.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. I remember that too. Um, oh, and then before we go on, Issa Life said there are always people who try to make goth, especially gothic girls, into sexualized beings and toys. Yeah, and again, that's another thing that gets amplified when it's in the mainstream. Even now, I get men and boys who act effed up when I dress goth. Yeah, I'm sorry you have to deal with that. Um, it does seem to be part of the cycle that we go through, unfortunately. Um,
Yeah,
but in the 2017 was the first time we actually got to see you in one of your videos, and you made a video with Trevor about Fika when you posted your
yeah.
first vlog in 2017. So where were you? Oh, you were already actually sorry, that didn't make any sense. Your first video was with Trevor when you talked about Fika, and then you made a vlog a little later on where you just were talking about life, and you even mentioned goth even from that very first vlog. So what inspired you to start vlogging?
I'm not 100% sure because I think it took a very long time before I even dared to upload everything because I knew that I'm not gonna be as good as the other one that looks so more professional. And when I compare with like Friday, Angela Benedict, and all those people, so they are so professional when they do something, and they're so huge when it comes to the scene too. So I was thinking, should little me even be able to do something? And I know there are people that are much better in music type of things, especially when you're gonna take it down to every single little bits of how the song or the lyrics is made up or something. And I'm not good at it because I'm more like a feeling. If I like what I hear, I love it because it talks to me, it talks to my inner part. So I was thinking first, should I dare or should I not? And then I was thinking, what the heck? What can I lose?
I'm glad you did because yeah, like you said, there's always going to be like bigger YouTubers with different levels of production and editing and stuff. But I think what a lot of people like is just to see real people,
Mhm.
sometimes. And you definitely, like I said before, are open and you share so many different parts of yourself and the subculture. I think that's what people really relate to with your videos as well. So I'm glad that you did. I'm glad that you did start posting back then.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I think that that's a little war I do against YouTube too, because even YouTube try to put you in a certain box to even monetize you, because if you are spreading out your interest, then you are not worthy to be monetized, it seems like. But if you just in a tiny little things, they might think about it. But when it comes to just golf, you're not going to be discovered if you're not a big one or have people that you are popular, so people know who you are already. So I think that's very hard to just focus. And like I said, we girls, we can do so much different things. We are different persons, everyone is very creative most of the times too. So why should we just limit us to just talk about one thing? We have people that are really good at it. Let them do that because they are much better. They can do it more professional. And especially nowadays when YouTube have been in hustle when it comes to even try to put some music in the background, and you get this warning and everything. So it's very hard to even introduce goth music for new people because then YouTube gonna protest and say, no, you have to take this away. And it was not even that hard in the beginning because it was more easier to actually share things with each other that other way. So it was easier to get people to discover because uh, when we live in different parts of the world, so maybe we have a focus on some type of bands, but we miss other type of bands, and the other people miss our type of bands over here.
Definitely. That makes sense. And oh, yes, I totally agree. It's a life said, none of us are less because we aren't the well known stars of the Gothic or alternative life. You are a star, Sunnies, and you shine because you have a beautiful personality. I couldn't agree more. It's so true.
Thank you very much.
Yes, it shines through in your videos, but even in this conversation, like you're just so warm. And I have to say, I love how you're dropping F bombs because I could see like that's just like you coming out, and I love it.
No,
Um,
that's the person I am. That's the the same
Yeah,
person you're gonna get for real. So why
I
should I
love it.
change my concept? Because that's me. I'm too old to that crap to try to pretend be something else.
No, absolutely, me too, and I love it. So you have been super consistent though, speaking of, because there's so many aspects to YouTube, right? And like we
Mm,
said, there's so many different, I guess, kind of reasons why people do it. And if you're just doing it
mm,
to express yourself and for fun, then it's even I know even then we get caught up with the numbers and the algorithm and all that stuff,
mm,
but then we have to remind ourselves at the end of the day, okay, like why am I doing this, right? Um, but you have been super consistent, which is another aspect of YouTube. And
mm.
you gotten a ton of subscribers in a short amount of time. So congrats for that. Because I remember
Thanks
literally in
very much.
January, yes, in January, we were hanging out with Juan Black. You're hanging out with us in the live. And we were saying, yeah, you're going to hit 1K. And now you like already got like 1,000, another 1,000 in like the last 2 months. So what has that
Yeah,
been
and
like
I
for you?
it feels incredible because I have very hard from 700. It took very long time because I thought already 1 year before I should reach 1,000 because it was in the beginning of the year I had 700, but for some reason the subscribers numbers went down all the time. First I gained some, but then they dropped even more. And I was thinking, what the heck is going on? And then I was seeing other channels saying about this thing that YouTube are taking you away, and if you're not doing a certain well like YouTube wants you to do. So they're gonna take away because they don't see them like the serious subscribers and blah blah blah, or they are fake account because they're not active enough. So we take them away. But I say it's up to the person that follow you to stay subscribed or not. I don't think someone else should decide that for you. Or even if you have a channel that maybe is not that living for the moment, you have things going on in life maybe. So that's why you maybe take a break. So I think it's not fair for people that actually try to grow or something, even if it's not just about the numbers, because I love this community when you start to know people and you actually can go even to bigger YouTubers and talk with them and they say, oh, I like you and that type of things. And they start to talk with you like a friend too. And you think it's fabulous because I should never met those persons for real if I don't go over. And I'm not sure I even gonna get to US any day. So I'm happy to be in the UK, but I have never directly met Goths in person that much. It's just a few persons we met that I know been Goths, but that's another question. It's not like we gone over for going to the Gothic weekend or something that is in Whitby twice a year or something like that. But I should love to go somewhere and like go to Germany when you go to the West Gothic trip and Luna and all those type of things that are big bad. It should be a dream too, but it costs a lot. It costs a lot, and I don't have the money.
I know exactly what you mean. It's like all, especially like these big events that happen, and or even events that happen in other towns. It's like, oh man, I wish I could go there and hang out with the people in the scene there or that you met through
Yeah,
YouTube. But yeah, it's expensive. So
yeah, and some people even say, "Oh, but it's not hard. Just drive 4 hours." Like, for an example, when we have bands coming to, for example, to Stockholm, that is our capital town, but it's at least 4 or 5 hours driving in good conditions. And we have all type of weather. So we have a very hard winter too, so it's not just going. Plus, if you go there, it's often during a weekday or something. You're gonna need to stay somewhere because it's not like you're gonna drive back the same day, and everything is so expensive. So it's not that easy to just go. It's not just the concert you're gonna pay for. You're gonna have to pay for other stuff too, and it costs a lot to get that too. So if you're not very many that goes together, so you can take down the cost that way, or you can the most people want to drink too, so you're often gonna end up with just one person and gonna drive anyway. So that person gonna be dead before he can get back.
that's so true. Yeah. And so as much as we, and who knows, like you said, maybe one day, and we can all keep
Mm,
hoping for that day when we can all get to meet in person, hang out, go to these events. But even without
yeah.
that, you're right. Without YouTube, a lot of us wouldn't have met, and it's just amazing with YouTube and social media that we do get to connect. So yeah, I love that. And we actually are almost at time. I would love to stay longer, but I actually have to hop on to work. So unfortunately, this day we don't get to go over. So we should do a part two because there's still so much to talk about with your channel and everything else, and this has been really
Yeah.
fun. Um, but what are you looking forward to? I guess for a last question for today, what are you looking forward to for the rest of the year for YouTube and for your own life and personally?
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm looking forward for maybe coming over to UK this year because I hope so, because Trevor haven't been back home for 6 years now. And to live with an Englishman in Sweden is, even if people think you are in Europe, it should be like similar type of living, but it's actually not. And he's very English in his way too. And he's a metalhead. He's not a goth, but he can listen to goth music anyway. And like I said, I can listen to metal music too. So it's not like we are stuck in that type of way, so we can't share things. But we hope to get over, and I hope I'm gonna meet some of my goth friends that I met on Instagram, for an example. And hopefully, even if I have time, can meet some of the YouTubers that I have met too here, and that also is into the alternative style too. So we have, for example, the Health Anarchist that is from UK is a guy that started more like a punkhead, but nowadays have gone over more towards goth itself. But he have moved like me because we are similar age, so we have similar background even from UK. How we met with the music and everything, and with people around it, and that we actually hang together with the same type of freaks that were mixed. So it should be very nice to actually meet them and even maybe do a video about it too. So
Yes. Oh, that's exciting. And UK, I know. Well, I guess it depends on where, but I'm pretty sure they have different goth pockets of goth scenes there too. So who knows? Maybe you'll get to go to an
yeah,
event
but
too.
yeah, but I think that depends on where, because it's like with everything you have to travel, and Trevor is from the northwest part, so I think the closest we can come to the scene is Manchester. But then we also have the town Blackpool that is not far away from where he was when you have the bad Augur is coming from too. So, and the singer in Augur is actually very working for Sophie Lancaster Foundation nowadays too. So
Awesome. Well, I definitely wish all the best for both of you and that you get to make it out there and have a good time and meeting people. And seriously, thank you for the time. This was really, really fun. And it was great
you're
getting
welcome.
to talk with you and getting to know you. And before we go, links to Sunny's channel and Instagram and everything is in the description. And is there anything you want to say to anyone watching, present or future?
I would say to people, don't listen to people that say that you can't be goth because you don't look like goth. If you love the music, you are a goth for me at least. And I think that's the main rule for the most elder goths too. We don't gonna judge you because you're not looking like one. And goth has so many wide things too. And you can listen to other type of music too. Because the musicians do the same, because they're not stuck in just one thing either, because else they shouldn't get any inspiration.
Definitely.
Just for
Thank
you.
Yes, that's the best message, and thank you for being you and for sharing you, and parts of your life on your channel and here today. So thank you, Sunnies. You are awesome, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you all
Yeah.
later. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see
Bye
you later.
bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.